And this is a bit of my perspective as well. In the same way, Nulsik, that a song is yirip, meticulously constructed, there with each note to give to convey each message. Even an instrumental song, every element is placed there. Here as well. Yes, every element I place conveys a message. Every shape, every little curve I put on the instrument is to give the sensation that it was something thought out, that it wasn't something just rushed through to finish quickly, something like that. And I believe that well-made music is like that too. It is something meticulous, something with patience.
Yes.
Torcuato, better than anyone, can say this because
Certainly.
for many years he was a producer, and the producer's job is to extract the best
Exactly.
musician, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, when you have this recognition as well, right, in professional work like the luthier there, in the instrument you're seeing, it's an opinion I consider weighty because it doesn't come from just anyone. And to say, no, man, here I saw every detail being explored, to deliver the best to you. It's because this really happened.
Exactly.
This really happened.
There was an effort like this. It's a tremendous effort to put every element that represents the brand, elements that I've used in other instruments, of course. But man, this is the standard. This is my standard. I don't do anything below this. Of course, this guitar is special because it's for a special person, a person I admire a lot.
Can I ask you a question, Liv?
Sure, of course.
What's the secret? If you don't want to, you don't have to tell, because Coca-Cola hasn't revealed its secret to this day.
To this day, right?
But what's the secret? Because for me, really, it impressed me, like, for you to make an instrument that when you play it, it's vibrating here on the neck. Is it, or what is the reasoning? What do you think about this, about the resonance of the instrument like that?
Well, but it's based on two pillars. First, the crystallization of the wood structure, because wood, maybe the species doesn't make much difference, but the density and the degree of drying, certainly, of that wood itself, of any species, it makes a big difference.
Okay.
So when you have, for example, a mahogany like this one here, which I even mentioned in the episode, that has 40 years of drying.
Wow.
That was that arrived at the warehouse in 1986 and was placed there and stayed still before I was even born, actually. And I bought this mahogany. The guy had the photo, the proof that it was there, since that date. And I take this wood that has its entire structure crystallized, the sugars, the wood cells have already been completely crystallized. That is, it's practically glass. You throw a piece of this wood on the bench, it makes a glassy sound. And you combine this depot with the right angles, because you saw this on the gill yarona, and it's a Le Paul. It has an angle on the neck and an angle on the headstock. When you put an angle on the headstock, that's why I insist on making angled headstocks and not the Fender type headstock. Nothing against it, but it's my style to build angled headstocks, because I think that when the headstock is straight, it doesn't exert the necessary pressure on the nut and the necessary pressure on the bridge.
I think so too.
You put a slight angle here on the neck, an angle here, combine it with the right wood, and the last detail, the neck joint, since it's a single cut, right? This top part, it makes a very deep joint here with the neck, right? So what you do is this body vibration transfers to the neck. If it were a double cut, for example, where this area, this top part had a smaller contact area with the neck, where probably this vibration would be less. Something that also happens with the Les Paul. It is single cut. So this top part, in fact, it was this mentality, for example, that when Fodera developed together with, now I'm going to forget, say, something Jackson in the 80s.
Anthony Jackson?
Anthony Jackson, exactly, the 6-string bass. He made it single cut to transfer this
vibration.
This vibration from the body to the bridge, integrating it with the neck. The fact that it's a set neck also helps. So there are several factors. In the end, the final result is this vibration.
Yes.
How cool. If you used, for example, a wood with less drying time, would the sound result be different too?
It would be different and it would be very risky because it's a set neck, right? Later we'll turn the guitar around and you'll be able to see that it's a set neck. It's a very tight joint there. There's no way to separate it. So if I, for example, used a wood here that didn't have established stability, a wood that was, I don't know, a bit green and not stable, for instance, this neck is made from two pieces of mahogany of the same wood. I cut it in half and mirror it. So the fibers are symmetrical. One pulls to one side, the other pulls to the other, and you eliminate the tendencies there. The stability increases you, right? This technique is called lamination. So I do this precisely because I know I'm going to glue the neck, and if there's any problem, you literally lose the instrument. So I make sure to use a very well-dried, stabilized wood, and mainly with the force vectors within them stabilized because of this lamination.
Angelo, can I see this?
Now you see the amount of checklist you need to have for an instru. You said, well, otherwise I lose the instrument.
Yes.
Obviously the instrument. And then I'm like, for those of you who say wood signs or doesn't sign, and he says no, because the price of the instrument, man, it's these instruments, it's not that you're paying because of the wood. It's kind of a little bit, but the difference is the time you have someone taking care of every detail of the process, which can be important for some, important for others. What happens with one of these instruments? I'm here, you were telling me, I started playing, then, yeah, like you have a touch, that man, this thing of going there and doing, you know, the cell phone. That's what I feel here. That's what makes me want to keep playing. So it makes me want to keep playing even with it turned off, which is what I always say. That is, I don't remember if it was in the course that I talked about this, but the fact that I since I didn't have an amplifier and couldn't play, I grew up playing with the guitar unplugged. And that made me have a very great control of how the instrument reacts when it's unplugged. Because when you plug it into an amplifier, it's like you put on a like you're anesthetized. But when you have control of the unplugged guitar, you'll tune much better.
Exactly.
Anything, which I talk a lot about in the course. This, man, and really, it's not a lie. This is what saves me in tricky situations, for example, because sometimes you arrive in the middle of a show and you're not focused because the environment itself doesn't allow you to know what's happening. When you have control over all of this, of each stage, which I call the game stage, also in the course. Yeah. You start, master more, and you're doing a checklist of each process. So, well, I know that here my instrument, I master it even when it's turned off. When it's turned on, I'll have to worry about something else, like the treble of the place, the monitoring, and that's a whole different story. But when you start with the instrument, which is it's here with you and you with it, you're at peace. The rest follows, right? It becomes much more...
You gain confidence, right?
Exactly. You know that the foundation is here. It's in the instrument. And it's a journey, man, until it does.
And that's also a matter of focus, right? Because when you're playing with it turned off, you're focused on the vibration. You're focused there. Your focus is here. When you plug it into the amp, your attention shifts there.
Exactly.
And then if you have that mastered with you,
you draw a parallel and then you go.
You make an average, right? No, because I also for a long time played without an amplifier because I didn't have the money to buy an amplifier. You buy the guitar, then the amplifier.
Yeah.
Amplifier, let's see how it is, right?
Yeah.
I plug it into the studio. So
plug it into the gradiente.
Yeah. Man, who hasn't? Who hasn't? That wonderful sound. It seemed like you were frying the thing. But really, playing with the guitar, unplugged, that was my reality for a long time. You get the hang of the instrument, right? You already have there Yeah, you create a much greater intimacy with it. Then when you plug it in, you already know what you're looking for, right? And then we were even talking, right, about the difference between having a cheap instrument and a more expensive one. Let's put it this way, an instrument with slightly lower quality and one with higher quality. How having a well-built instrument makes it easier for you to find the sound you're looking for, right?
Yes.
That makes it a lot easier. That was something that with this guitar was easy for you, right?
No, it was automatic. Like, once I played it, I couldn't let go.
It's that car analogy we talked about at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. You go with the broken down Beetle
You get there, right?
anywhere.
You get there.
But man, going with a BMW is much better.
Yeah, it's much more comfortable. The air conditioning works. You don't have that stiff steering. Playing with an instrument, man, well made is. It's another thing, another detail. It's a whole different world.
And also, we were talking about this, right? About the importance joking, right? Only guitarists understand this, right? That we said this thing. No, I'm going to buy a pedal to see if I play better.
To give a little motivation.
It's not to play better, but sometimes to give a little motivation. The instrument where you're going to plug it in, the quality, that motivates, right? And we talk a lot about sound, but we forget that sound is just a part of what's more important, which is the music. It's what you're going to convey to people while you're playing. I only think about that. No, hold on. No, what am I going to convey to others? Is the person going to be there watching and finding everything too boring? Or are you going to convey the emotion of that song, right? So God's main instrument is music.
Uh-huh.
We are the instrument.
We are the intermediaries.
Intermediaries to make this music, but we are instruments too. And the next instrument is the instrument. So up to this point, man, it has to be very resolved so that the communication is direct, right? Otherwise you get stuck.
The worst thing there is, I always said this to the colleagues. The worst thing there is fighting with the instrument when you're about to play.
Yes.
When you're playing. Because, I don't know, man. It's a bend that doesn't tune, not because you can't do it, because you play and, man, it doesn't work. Like the fret is catching, or you play and you don't feel confident that the guitar will stay in tune.
For example, my problem is it's the opposite with stainless steel frets, which everyone says,
Uh-huh.
The stainless steel fret, yeah. And I explained this to him.
Uh-huh.
I like it. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that the stainless steel fret makes me slip. It feels like I'm driving on an oil slick track, so it comes because it becomes too easy. Yeah, so
its friction is much lower, right? That's why it's a harder fret.
It's less friction, it's smoother, it's nice for it depends. But you start to have to play much more gently so you can, and I'm a guy who kind of plays with a knife between my teeth. That's one thing. Another thing is that it's also brighter.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's a harder material, right?
Exactly, right? Now there are the advantages that you'll never have to change the frets on the guitar. That's cool, everything.
You don't need to keep polishing the fret all the time.
This guitar has the
Does it have stainless steel?
No.
No?
No.
We made it based on his own specs. So he said, man, I like nickel frets. So I went looking for one of the best nickel frets, maybe the best, which is the Dunlop 66105, which is an American fret, right?
It's a very good fret. So we're going to talk more about technical aspects, but there are several things in this instrument that were designed especially for him, right? Including the pickups.